What's up, everybody? Back with you today. The Blue Gold Sports Podcast 2 and 3 is where West Virginia football stands following their bye week, and they have a big opportunity ahead of them this Thursday at home against Baylor. Mountaineers lost to Texas in a pretty ugly fashion. Just really couldn't get anything going, no rhythm on either side of the ball. And here they are now sitting in a must-win game. I think you have a team that's desperate for a win, desperate for a Big 12 win, and you get a shot to do that at home, return home for the first time in I think about a month, a little over a month almost. So big opportunity on Thursday night. Just kind of get your overall thoughts, Aaron, first on Texas, and then we'll move into Baylor.
Yeah, the Texas game was not ideal for the Mountaineers. As one could as anyone could really dissect. I mean, I think 38-20 doesn't even really do justice to what the game was. I mean, I don't think the Mountaineers were even. I don't think they deserve to be within 18 points, to be honest with you. That first two quarters was just pretty pitiful. The secondary, a lot of corners getting left on islands, and man, they couldn't keep up with guys like Worthy and Jatavion Sanders, the tight end, and they just one-on-one matchups they were losing about each one of them. So looking forward to Baylor Thursday night kick in Morgantown, first home game in about a month, and they're gonna have to step up, but it's gonna be a team effort. I mean, obviously, you don't lose a game like that and get dominated on all phases of the ball just by a bad secondary. So they got a lot of cleaning up to do.
Yeah, for me personally, I felt like after West Virginia's second drive of the game was over. I mean, you have a short field after you get basically a 3-and-out. Texas got a first down, but you forced like a 4th and 24. You force a punt, you get the ball inside the 50, and you can't do anything with it. 2 drops on 3rd and 4th down, and then Texas goes down the field against your defense and scores 14-0. All the momentum at home for them, and from there on, it was a bully fest. I think Texas basically bullied the Mountaineers. In other news, the biggest news of the game for West Virginia purposes, C.J. Donaldson. Everyone's aware he got hurt, knee to the neck area. He was carted off, went to the hospital. It didn't look good there, to be honest with you. But he will be out for Baylor. Neil Brown announced that last week during the bye week. He reiterated that again today in his weekly press conference. And that's a big loss. 29% of West Virginia's carries have been from CJ this season. He's averaging 6.9 yards per carry. So big loss. And you're facing a Baylor front that, man, they're good at stopping the run. Second in Big 12 in rushing defense. And you're going to be playing in conditions where you need to run the ball. It looks like it will be raining on Thursday night here in Morgantown. Looks like it's going to be a kind of a dogfight. It's not going to be the best weather to throw the ball around 50 times. So a lot of attention will be on Tony Mathis. A lot of attention will be on Justin Johnson because Neil Brown said those two guys will get the ball. He did talk about Jalen Anderson, saying Jalen Anderson, if needed, will play, but most likely it'll be the two. So big shoes to fill, but I think those two guys are certainly up for the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big loss. I mean, C.J. Donaldson being a true freshman and really just kind of being, just taking the season, taking the team by notice with, his performance against Pitt. He kind of opened eyes and was like, man, who is this guy? And he followed up with a great game against Towson, a good game against Virginia Tech. And he showed that he's not just a one-game wonder. So it hurts to lose him. But we saw against Virginia Tech that Justin Johnson can step up. He can get downfield. He's quick. He's shifty. But you're gonna need Tony Mathis to step up. I mean, he's been here for a couple of years now. Towards the end of last season, he established himself as that main back. Obviously, we didn't know about C.J. Donaldson at the time during the Kansas and Texas game last season. But he had a fumble against Virginia Tech. Neil kind of sat him down for the rest of that game. But he's gonna have to really take the load here. And he's going to have to, obviously it's not all on him. Obviously the offensive front's got to do their work, but you're right. I mean, in a rainy condition against a Dave Aranda defense, you're going to have to do something. Something's got to give because you're not going to just be able to, go shotgun and just throw it downfield all day long.
Yeah, the recipe doesn't look too good for West Virginia. You had 7 drops against Texas. It's going to be a wet track on Thursday. So wet balls plus receivers who drop the balls, and without your star running back could be setting up for disaster. But I think the thing about Baylor, which I think gives West Virginia an advantage, is it's not like they have star power. Texas had star power across the board. Baylor doesn't have those guys that are five-star, five-star, five-star. They are just a well-coached, disciplined football team. And I think that is easier to beat than it is to beat talent. I think you can beat a well-coached team if you play well and you are well-coached, and it is easier to overcome than it is to overcome a talent deficit like you had when you faced Texas. I also think being at home under the lights, big time, obviously. I don't expect it to be a sellout by any means. Thursday night makes it hard. 50 strong. If there's 50,000 there, I think it's a pretty good crowd for a Thursday night game in the rain when you're 2-3. So, just talking about how this game lines up. We talked about the matchup between running the ball. West Virginia secondary against Texas. The Longhorns passed for 336 and 4 touchdowns. It's the second time this season West Virginia has allowed more than 300 plus passing yards. The other time was Pitt. And if you go back to, and that is through 5 games. And if you go back to last season, they allowed that twice. And obviously, well, not obviously, but of course, one of those times was to Baylor and the other was to Maryland. So this defense has certainly regressed from a year ago. I don't think it's hard to really say, but I mean, you played, I think it was 8 or 9 guys in the secondary, and Charles Woods will still be out. Neil Brown did say today. It was actually a little piece of information. Charles Woods is, quote, at least a week away. So maybe get him back for Texas Tech. I really think that TCU game on the 29th will be the one that he is there for. But until then, it's not like you're going and getting someone or trading for someone like you've got what you got. You got to develop them. So hopefully younger guys, Andrew Wilson-Lamb, Mumu bin Wahad, play better. Wesley McCormick's got to play better. He's been awful. And Rashad Ajayi, Neil Brown said he was impressed with looking at the tape. Said he was the best guy in the secondary. So hopefully he can continue to take a step forward. But there's a lot of question marks, and luckily they're not playing Xavier Worthy again, but they were playing some dudes that can hurt you. And having allowed 300 plus yards through the air twice already through 5 games after doing it twice all last year doesn't bode well going forward.
No, it doesn't. It's pretty clear that the defense just isn't what the Mountaineers had last year. And I think, maybe for reasons, I don't know, that were predictable going into the season. I think the big loss you thought was Akeem Messidor leaving, hitting the portal and going to Miami. And I'm sure, his presence, is missed to some extent. But, I mean, you still got Dante Stills and, Jordan Jefferson. And, you got guys up on the front. Now, maybe they're not playing up to their potential right at the moment. But, I mean, the secondary is not great at all. And neither is the linebacker play. But, yeah, I think you're right. Like, Wesley McCormick his game hasn't been there. I've noticed Marcus Floyd isn't in the right spot a whole lot. It's good to hear that Neil thinks a little bit of Rashad Ajayi. He's not without flaw either. But I do think, to your point, I mean, Texas is a more talented team than I think we gave them credit for. I mean, we knew they were talented, but they're going out there with without Quinn Ewers, and backup quarterback, and Card threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 picks. They got talent. Xavier Worthy, he got past whoever he wanted to get past. Whatever he wanted to do, he could do. Jatavion Sanders, to be honest with you, I didn't know who that was before the game. They showed that they're big, they're physical, and they're fast. And Baylor, Blake Shapen, he showed what he had last year at the end of the season. But I wonder if he can really pick apart the Mountaineer defense, kind of like Texas did. I'd sure hope not, considering it's in Morgantown. You're not dealing with the Austin crowd, and it's a Thursday night, and it's probably going to be raining. But right now, I don't have much confidence in that secondary, so I can't confidently say that Blake Shapen isn't going to go out there and throw 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, a couple things I want to get to based off what you said. First, I'm going to talk about Texas real quick. A little off topic, I'm going to talk about the Longhorns. The Longhorns, if Quinn Ewers is healthy, they beat Alabama. They probably beat Texas Tech, and they're probably ranked within the top 5 in the country right now. So, they just rolled Oklahoma, and they did that in a rivalry game in a big stage, and that was with Quinn Ewers. So more than likely, if Quinn Ewers does not leave that Alabama game early, they beat Alabama. More than likely, if Quinn Ewers plays against Texas Tech, they beat Texas Tech. So they are a Quinn Ewers injury away from being a top 5 team in the country. So I think you're right. Like, the Texas deserves credit, and they are a really good team, and they are on the brink, and they possibly could be the best team in the Big 12 this year. And I would not be surprised to see them end up in Dallas at all. On the flip point, Blake Shapen, you've got to make him make throws that are uncomfortable, and you've got to make him turn the ball over. The best thing Baylor does is that they protect him. And when you keep a quarterback upright and you keep him that pocket clean, he can pick apart defenses. And the problem West Virginia has had is they can't get to the quarterback and their secondary falls apart. So you've got to get pressure on the quarterback, make him make rush throws, make him have to move outside the pocket. He's not the most mobile guy in the world, but he can run. So you've just got to contain him, but you've also got to get pressure on him. And against Oklahoma State, he passed for 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 28 of 40 passing. So that's big time against a good defense. So you've got to make him turn the ball over. And as we saw, they lost that game. So Baylor's susceptible to losing. Another part of this Baylor offense I want to talk about is fourth downs. They love to go for it on fourth downs. That was a big topic of the conversation between coordinators and Neil Brown today. Against Oklahoma State, last game, 3 of 5 on fourth down. On the season, they are 10 of 16. So that's a lot of times they're moving the ball on fourth down. And if it wasn't for Texas Tech going for 8 fourth downs against Texas, they'd be first in the conference by a long shot. So I think there's a strategy to going for it on fourth down. I think there's a lot of analytics that these coaches have access to that just we don't, obviously. But West Virginia has struggled to get off the field all year this year. And when you have a team that can make you play 4 downs instead of 3, I just don't see a scenario where that's good for this defense. It's not like you have a physical defense where you're going to be challenging people. It's more of they have 4 downs to get 10 yards, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, in today's game, you look more and more coaches are going for it on fourth down, even on not just like the opponent's 35-yard line in kind of that no man's land, as some say, that you see people, going for it consistently in their own territory, in midfield and stuff like that. And I think Dave Aranda is one of those guys. Clearly, Texas Tech is one of those programs. And, this Mountaineer defense, I don't know, if Baylor moves the ball to the 50 or the Mountaineers 45 and they make them play 4 downs instead of 3, I just don't know if there's going to be that guy that steps up and makes a play. Obviously, we know Dante Stills could, Taj Austin, some of these guys could, but right now they're not getting much pressure on the quarterback. Obviously, Baylor can protect pretty well for Shapen. And who's going to make the play? I mean, who's going to be that ball hawk that goes after the quarterback, or if somebody is open, if it's a 4th and 2, and somebody's open for a 4-yard slant to move the chains, who's going to step up and make that play? Right now, I just don't know. I mean, the only person outside of Dante that I can really label as like a ball hawk just this season, not previous seasons, is Lee Koba. But, I think he's better in run defense. I'm not really sure how well he can do in the pass defense, especially if it's like 4th and 5 and they're, going to throw over the middle for 10 yards. I'm not sure how much he can do there. So the corners, secondary, safety, they're going to have to step up. Throwing for 345 yards, what Shapen did against Oklahoma State, that's pretty impressive. Granted, he threw 2 interceptions, but are the Mountaineers going to get 2 picks on him? I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real here. West Virginia has forced 3 turnovers. One was the interception late. Their only interception. They have 1 interception through 5 games. That is not good. And 2 forced fumbles. One was against Towson, and the other was not, you didn't cause it. Pitt just dropped a ball right into your hands basically at Pitt. So it's not, you forced basically, you've realistically forced against a good team 1 turnover this year. And that that's just especially when your offense goes on long drives, they don't have a ton of possessions. You've got to steal possessions like that. You've got to get your hands on balls, and you've got to be better if you're this defense. And they know it, and that's the problem, is everyone knows it. It's just a matter of going out and being better. Hopefully the bye week helps some. I know younger guys, they scrimmaged 3 times this past week, so hopefully that helps. But you just don't know. If Baylor hangs with Oklahoma State like they did, Oklahoma State's probably the best defense in this league. And so, it could be a tough task on Thursday night. But crazier things have happened. And this defense shown it can play well, especially against Pitt. So hopefully that turns around. But Baylor's going to want to run the ball. They're going to be physical. They run 3 tight end sets. They have a freshman running back, Richard Reese, who went for 85 yards and touchdown against Oklahoma State. So they're going to run the ball. You've just got to stop that. I mean, they've proven they can stop that. They played great against the run against Pitt, great against the run against Virginia Tech, not great against Kansas, and the whole defense fell apart against Texas. So I don't really want to even talk about that. But I think that's what it's going to come down to. Baylor's going to want to run the ball. You're going to want to run the ball. It's who can run the ball better on Thursday night will more than likely win the game.
Yeah, obviously Baylor is going to want to run the ball. And, I think obviously with the defense struggling, we talk so much about the secondary, and we should. I mean, we should after that Texas game, and only forcing one real, authentic turnover against a good team. We should talk about it. But I think if you want to beat Baylor and you want to stop that run, that rushing attack, I think it's going to have to come down to the leaders. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the secondary, and clearly none of those guys are the leaders because a lot of them are transferred from Colorado State, FCS programs, with James Madison and North Dakota State. I think Jazeer Cox is from there. So I think some of these leaders on the line are going to have to step up and be the leaders. The Dante Stills of the world, Taj Austin, Jordan Jefferson, even a guy like Sean Martin. I know he's younger, but we don't have much faith in the secondary right now. So I think to start out, it's going to take getting some pressure on the quarterback on third down, plugging the gaps on second down, maybe second down and 5 to make sure they don't, move the chains on first and second down, make them play third and fourth down. So I think the leaders need to step up and hopefully the secondary can follow suit after that.
Question for you, just after the bye week, kind of a general overarching question for the season. What is, through 5 weeks, what is your biggest bright spot from this team? And besides the secondary, neither of us can answer the secondary here. What is the thing that you want to see improve the most? It can be specific, it can be generally speaking, but besides the secondary, what do you want to see grow the most? And what has been the biggest bright spot for you through the first 5 games?
Honestly, biggest bright spot, obviously, my mind immediately goes to CJ Donaldson, but going forward, obviously he's not going to play in the next game. He got injured pretty bad, so I want to take a different route than that. I just think the consistency of JT Daniels. He didn't have his best game against Texas, missed a couple throws. He's not without fault, but he has been consistent. He's been a leader. He's made a lot of the throws. Hasn't made very many dumb throws. Only a couple picks on the year, and one of them obviously wasn't his fault. So I'm going to go JT Daniels on that. I have a lot of confidence in him going forward. I have a lot of confidence that he's going to make plays rather than, making errors. And something that needs to be improved on, I think, is kind of both sides of the ball. Is just somebody's got to step up. On the offensive side of the ball, you can count on JT Daniels. You can count on Bryce Ford Wheaton and maybe Sam James to a degree. But what else past that? And maybe not even Sam James. He dropped 2 or 3 passes against Texas. You thought Mike O'Laughlin was a pretty steady tight end. He's dropped 2 or 3 big plays. I know he's injured right now.
Yeah,
but
real quick on Michael's injury.
Yeah.
No official word. If I had to put money on it, I don't think he plays this week. Tests came back. It looks like it's that knee again. Obviously, you hope for the best because he's worked his butt off to get back multiple times. But unfortunate the way it happened, but I doubt he plays this week, even though Neil Brown said he does not have a status for him yet.
Yeah, it sucks to see. I mean, he's had so many injuries, but he's, nobody's without fault at this point. And on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you're just begging for somebody to step up. The numbers say, probably as far as tackles go, Lee Koba's playing pretty consistent. But when it comes down to the wire, I mean, nobody's making that play. Nobody's being a ball hawk. Nobody's being, a Rasul Douglas, a Kaiser White, a David Long, somebody to just, be a dog out there. Always be where the ball is and making a play. And nobody's been doing that. Obviously, Jacoby Spells did against Virginia Tech, but he's a true freshman. Somebody else is going to need to step up at some point. Going forward because Virginia Tech's not even a good team with not even a very good quarterback. So
Virginia Tech just got rolled by Pitt.
Yeah, no, they're not a good football team. I mean, not even close.
Pitt lost to Georgia Tech at home. So
yeah, Yeah, it's a ripple effect. And, going forward, getting deeper into Big 12 play, facing teams like you're going to face Oklahoma State, Texas Tech looks pretty good, Kansas State looks pretty
There's
TCU
no
now.
easy
There's
game.
not a
West,
single
like
game.
if you have to look at where can West Virginia get wins, you have to squint pretty hard. Like you think maybe on the road against Iowa State, but then you've never played well on the road against Iowa State. Then you think, oh, TCU at home, right? Nah, TCU might be have a top 10 offense this year in the country. And then you think Oklahoma at home, well, Oklahoma has serious talent. Then you think, oh, Texas Tech Texas Tech just beat Texas. So the Big 12 is deep 1 through 10, and you're kind of looking at yourselves right now if you're West Virginia as the 9th or 10th best team, which is not a place you want to be in.
Yeah, I don't think there's any more Big 12 games that they're favored. I could be wrong on that, but there's no guaranteed wins. And at this point, you're just crying for somebody to step up and make a play. Despite the team not being great, there's going to be games where it's going to continue to be close. I mean, somebody told me that they thought Baylor was going to roll the Mountaineers this week. I said no, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a close game that Baylor wins by a couple plays where it's like, well, what if the Mountaineers would have made that play? What if there would have been this call made by the coach? I feel like it's going to be one of those games. So in those games, as we get deeper into the Big 12 season, somebody has to make a play. Somebody has to be a player, and third, fourth down, fourth quarter, late overtime, maybe even like a game against Kansas. Instead of doing a stupid play like a 15-yard rough in the passer penalty, give me something that's going to excite the fans. We haven't had much of that this year.
Yeah, if you think about it, if not for that penalty, Kansas doesn't host College game day this past week, and they might not be ranked. But
A lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda.
yeah, for me though, I'll go bright spot first. I mean, I just think you could. You talked about the improved quarterback play, especially from what we had last year here. But for me, I'm gonna go a different route. I'm gonna go the development of Caden Prather. I think
Okay.
he has become a really good all-around receiver, and next year Bryce Ford Wheaton will not be here, so you're going to have someone fill his shoes. I think Caden Prather will do that, and he's shown his ability to not only grow when he's doing receiving things such as catching the ball, running routes. He has been great in pass blocking. He's been great in making smart football decisions. Like the way he made that block on that 84, 82-yard run of C, like it's just like that's text, like it was picture perfect. So he's done so many good things this year, and he's starting to get rewarded with touchdowns. He had one against Texas. I think he had one or two against Kansas. Like he's found the end zone this year, and I'm happy for him because there was a lot of expectations. He was a 4-star recruit out of the state of Maryland. A lot of expectations, and he's starting to rise and meet those expectations, which I am super happy for. And he is only a true sophomore, so a lot of football left for him, hopefully here. As far as my biggest disappointment, besides the secondary, it's got to be this offensive line for me, man. Like they've played well and they've done well, but like there's just been times where JT's just getting like it's an uncomfortable pocket, and JT's not Lamar Jackson. He can't roll out and run. He's not the mobile type. Like he's a true pocket passer, and if you can't create a good pocket for him, it's going to be hard for this offense to like go. I think a lot of times against Texas, JT's throwing off his back foot. He's you have to have a strong base to throw the ball well. And there's been times where this offensive line, who was supposed to be great, who returned everybody, who has great communication, who has really good guys, like they've got to be better. And if you want to go win some games, pull off 3, 4, 5, 6 wins here, like it's gonna start up front on both sides of the ball. And defensive line, like they've been bad too. Like Dante, like there's been days where I don't even know Dante's on the field. Like
Yep.
you're the man, dude. Like you've got to step up. You've got to play better. So that's probably my biggest disappointment is the offense and defensive line.
I think you got a great point there. I mean, they say a lot. Football games won in the trenches. At the line of scrimmage. I think you're right. I think the offensive line has been good, but not good enough. You got Zach Frazier has been here for multiple years from West Virginia, a great leader. He's been a great offensive line. Paired with Doug Nestor from the state, former 4 or 5-star from West Virginia. You're returning a lot of guys. Wyatt Milum, 4-star from West Virginia. The only real, maybe hole there was like the Jaquay Hubbard, Brandon Yates battle. Brandon Yates, got beat a couple times last year, but before the season started, man, I was confident in 4 of the 5 linemen. And not to just hate on them because they've been fine, but fine's not good enough at this point. The games are won in the trenches, and I think they really showed that they're better than like Virginia Tech, but that's about it. Obviously
And
Townsend, but
and
like
fine,
Townsend.
and as you say, fine is not good enough, especially when your defense allows so many points.
Oh my
Like
gosh, yeah.
it's one thing if your defense is really good, so you don't have to be as great. But this offense literally almost has to be perfect if they want to win games, and like that sucks to say, but the different in execution levels and like the way these offense versus defense works, like the difference is vast between how good this offense is and how good this defense is. And so if you're the offensive line, like every possession matters even more because your defense allows so many points, especially against good teams, and you're only facing good teams from here on out. Like, whew, a lot of question marks going
Mhm.
forward. Um, let's talk picks, or actually one more thing. History, real quick, between these two teams. West Virginia is 5-0 against Baylor and Morgantown. This is their third Thursday night game, if you think about it, since they joined the Big 12. 2018 at home, West Virginia rolled. 2019 in Waco, the Mountaineers lost a close one, and then this will be the third time. Mountaineers are 6-4 all time against the Bears. Um, Picks. I'll go first here. Penn State at Michigan. We got 4 or 5 games this week, including West Virginia's. Penn State at Michigan. Michigan, they're getting 6.5 points at home. I think Michigan looks really good. I'm going to take the Wolverines at home. All roads lead to Michigan versus Ohio State for basically for the right to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah, give me Michigan. They got a consistent run game, and I can't stand Penn State. So
Um, Alabama at Tennessee. Alabama survived a scare. Tennessee's been playing really good football. It's in Knoxville. Bryce, what's his name?
is Bryce Young playing?
Yeah, that's the biggest question. Bryce Young's status is up in the air. Alabama's getting 7.5 right now. I think Tennessee covers if I'm a betting man, which I'm not. But, whew, I don't know. Alabama loses games like this in October on the road. I'm going to take Tennessee.
I really want to take Tennessee. I've watched them a couple times. They looked really good against Florida. Hendon Hooker's a playmaker. I can't go away from Alabama. So I'll go Alabama by like 10 points.
What could be a battle to possibly get a leg up on the way to Dallas for the Big 12? Oklahoma State at TCU. TCU's, I think, been besides Kansas, obviously, has been the surprise team in the Big 12. I don't think there were many expectations for this team, and they played really well. Their offense is really, really good. TCU's at home, 3.5 point favorites. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's two sides of this for me. I feel like TCU's luck has to run out at some point, but also like TCU is really good and they're at home, but I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I still think Oklahoma State's the team to beat in the Big 12 right now, so I'm going to take the Cowboys.
I'm going to go Oklahoma State too. They're a disciplined football team. Spencer Sanders has been there for a while. I just like that team. TCU shown me a lot, but I'm still not convinced on Max Duggan being the guy that leads TCU to the promised land. So I'm going to go Oklahoma State by like 3.
USC, Utah at home, 3.5 point favorites there. Whew, Utah lost a rough one. I think they were looking ahead a little bit from UCLA this week, but I think they bounced back. USC's due for a loss. I think USC's a little bit overrated. I'm going to take Utah at home.
Yeah, I think they're both overrated, to be completely honest with you. I'm going to go USC. Jordan Addison will have a big day. Utah, I liked them last year, but they're overrated this year. Lost last week. They didn't play well against Florida. I don't think Florida's all that. So I'm going to go USC.
And then finally, West Virginia, Baylor. Bottom line is this for me. If it's raining, West Virginia loses this game because they're going to have to run the ball, and I think Baylor will be better at stopping the run than West Virginia will be at running the ball. Forecast a little up in the air, obviously, still 3 days out. It is Monday night right now, but I'm going to take Baylor, and I think the Bears win 27. I'm going to go 27-23 Baylor.
I'm going to go Baylor. Might regret this later, but I'm going a little bit more high scoring, not a shootout, but I'm going to go 38-30 Baylor. I think some mistakes are going to cost WV the game, kind of like usual. And I think the Mountaineers will, get a touchdown late, and I think they'll get the ball and try to kind of have like a desperation to get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, but I don't think they'll get it.
Well, that is it for us on this Baylor preview. If you made it this far, we do appreciate you listening. I'm Wesley Shoemaker, joined by Aaron Parker. We look forward to talking to you guys again soon. And this is the Blue Gold Sports Podcast.